Welcome to Your Ultimate Life podcast, where we help you break free from mediocrity and create a life of purpose, prosperity, and joy. Get your free video series at yourultimatelife.ca.
Welcome to Your Ultimate Life broadcast today. Grateful that you're here. And I've constructed this video, this visual, importantly, for me at least, to talk about a really, really important topic, because this is about creating your ultimate life. Right now, as I'm recording this, it's near the end of July. You'll see it in August. Is your life full of joy and happiness? I ask that every episode because it's so important. If you don't stop and figure out, am I living the life I want? Life just goes by a day at a time and a week at a time. You know what I mean? You get up and it's Monday, and then, you get involved in the week and days go by, and then suddenly it's Monday again. And you might look back and say, what did I do this week? Did I do something? And so you sit down and you think, well, I did this and I went here and all kinds of stuff. It's interesting. Joy and I yesterday, as the day we're doing this, we went to a car dealership and we bought a car last night. Now, we've been talking about this for a year, and we had looked at several and we test driven several, and we have particular needs. The particular needs we have is we have 5 of us right now. There's Joy and I, and we have Grandma, who's going to be 93 in September next month, or a little bit more than a month, about 6 weeks. And then we have Nadia and Veronica, our Ukrainian guests. And then we have a bunch of animals, Cooper the dog and Bisco, the cat, and, also Luna. We have 2 cats and a dog. So, when we travel, it's really hard. We can't really fly. It's really hard to fly with Grandma. She's blind in one eye and has difficulty seeing in the other. And she'll be 93, like I said, pretty quick, and is pretty creaky. So it's hard to move with her. And flying is really hard. Driving is good. So we're going to drive for a couple of days over to Vancouver, spend a week, 10 days or so on Vancouver Island. And that's our vacation this summer. And it's fun, it's joyful, and the drive is long, but Joy's really good at that. I drive a little, but Joy loves to drive, and I let her. And so that's what we're going to do. But anyway, other years when we've done that, and we've done that a couple of other times, last year and the year before, because we're planning on moving to Vancouver Island. Anyway, so we were looking at a big vehicle because we have a moderate-sized SUV, but it's really not big enough to take. It'll hold 5 people, but not with luggage, and certainly not with animals. So pretty crowded. So we have rented, last year we rented a Ford Expedition Super XL Maximundo, gigantic, and it was really big and very luxurious, and that was fun. And the year before that, we rented a very large Volkswagen Atlas, I think, and they all worked. Anyway, we thought, we need to buy one. And so Joy loves Nissan, and we were thinking about buying an Armada. And we've been looking at one for at least a year. And the dealer, we have a Nissan Xterra that we've had for 15 years, and it's got 300,000 kilometers, 180,000 miles, and running great. And yeah, it costs a couple $1,000 every time we take it in, but it's okay. And then they're telling us it's got at least 300,000 more kilometers in it. Great. We're excited, but it's not big enough. So we thought, we spend $1,500 to $1,800 when we rent a car like that. And we might do that one big trip a year, but then we'll drive other places. So anyway, it adds up to quite a bit of money, $3,000 or $4,000 a year in rental. And we thought, hey, one of these days we need to buy one, because we're a buy and hold, right? We've had this one car for 15 years. So anyway, Joy was looking around. She saw an article during the pandemic. Used car prices went way up. New car sales went way down. People were holding, right, because of uncertainty. She saw an article saying that, people have started buying new cars, and there's a little extra surplus, little glut of used cars. So that was fun. And then she started looking around. She looked at takeover leases, and, she does a lot of research, and she's the most spectacular and amazing person in the universe at doing research online about anything, about health things, about finding stuff. She's just amazing. So she did this research, and suddenly this car came up, and it was an Armada, and it was 1 year old, like a 2023 instead of 24. And it only had 6,000 miles on it, 10,000 kilometers. which is ridiculous for a car that's a year old. That's almost nothing. That's like 6 months of driving, because maybe 12, 15,000 in a year is pretty normal. So this had 6,000, and it was not only on sale, and she started looking hard because of this article about, lower used car prices. So anyway, it turns out that it was at a place called Go Auto. Now, you may know what that is already. I didn't. Go Auto is sort of a last resort place where dealerships of all kinds send cars that haven't sold on their lot for whatever reason. New cars sometimes, but a lot of used cars. This is, like I said, very gently used, and it had a lot of special things. It was pretty tricked out, and it had something that's really important to us. The middle seat was a bench, not captain's chairs, because we wanted full 5 seating in the first 2 rows, and in the back row to either fold down for animals and luggage and so forth. So we'd seen one, and the one we test drove had the 4 captain's chairs, and that isn't going to work for us. But anyway, so this one had the bench in the middle, had almost no miles, and it was at Go Auto, which was, they have really good pricing there. So, wow, all this coalesced, and she sent an email to him and got a response almost immediately. So yesterday we went down and took a look at it, took a test drive, and bought a car. And it was about 25 or 30,000 less than the 24 would have been. Very, like I said, tricked out, and only 6,000 miles. So we got a screaming deal. We got an extended warranty and all that good stuff. So what a wonderful blessing. And that suddenly popped up. So we're excited, and we're going to go pick that up tomorrow. The reason I told you that is because I want to talk to you about something about truth. Today, the topic is measuring truth. How do you tell if something's true? How do you tell if it's real? How do you tell if it's right for you? Now, I know you know what it's like to get intuition. And as soon as she showed me that, she put it in Skype, because that's how we communicate, upstairs to downstairs. I clicked on it, took a look at it, went to the site, looked at all the pictures, saw that it had this, that, and the other, and I'm thinking, this can't be right. V8, 400 horsepower. I mean, like, tick, 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 tick. There wasn't a single moonroof and everything else. Not a single box that it didn't check, and I had an instant feeling this is just right. What a blessing. This is a divine blessing. We've been looking for this for a year. Not hard, but, plop in our laps. And it's 2 days before we're going to have to spend another $1,800 to $2,000. That's Canadian, so it's a little less if you're in the U.S. About 3/4 of that, so $1,500 U.S. to rent a car, for a great big car like that, for 12 days. And so we thought, you know what? We're just going to go take a look at it. We did, and we bought it last night. What an unexpected surprise and blessing, as I said. But the key here is the knowledge. The key here is the feeling that we get when something's true. Now, we live in a world right now where there's lying more than there's truth. There are maybe 4 times or 5 times as many lies, or shading, or exaggeration, or fakery as truth. So you have the 80-20 rule. 80% of what you see or hear or read is garbage, either exaggerated or intended to be persuasive or push your opinion or whatever. And 20% is just plain truth. So I was thinking about, the idea of measuring truth. How do you tell? What do you do? And so I'm going to give you 3 or 4 thoughts about how to tell. And this is important on a number of aspects. Okay, the first aspect is you get all kinds of input. So do I. If you're trying to be an honest, honorable, powerful person in the world, create your ultimate life, a life of, the words, say them with me, purpose, prosperity, and joy. What are your words? Say them right now. Mine are purpose, prosperity, and joy, and yours are 1, 2, 3. I hope you know them. The words that represent that life you would just love to wake up to every day. And maybe you're living it. So here's a little invitation. If you're living the ultimate life right now, please reach out to me. Get a hold of me. I love to expand my network, period. I especially love to expand it with people who have made the choices and done the work to live that ultimate life. And they're waking up every day to a life they love. If that's you, get a hold of me. I love to expand that network. I love to help people who are like that tell their stories as guests on this show or LA Talk Radio or my television network show. So if you want to be any of that, get a hold of me. That's the invitation. So anyway, measuring truth is important from if 80-20, 80% of what you hear, see, and read is garbage or shaded or trying to be persuasive and trying to get you to do, feel, be, buy, think something, and only 20% is just truth, then you have to have a highly developed sense of that or you're going to be BS. You're going to be drowning in BS, right? The other thing that's important is not what comes in, but what goes out. How do you measure your communication? I don't just mean verbal, but your intent, because we communicate in ways we don't even understand yet. There's language, there's tonality, pacing, right? There's all kinds of studies done on, eye movements and facial expressions and micro expressions and even tiny things like where we look and how our shoulders are, body language, crunched or open. All of that stuff goes into measuring truth. But what I want you to do with this is understand that if you measure your truth, who you are being in the world as you speak, as you show up, as you do things, you're going to have way more power. You're going to have more influence because people will recognize truth. You're going to be able to make more difference. You'll make more money. People tell lies because they think it benefits them. That is not true. The cost of falsehood far outweighs the gain. You may get temporary thing, you fool somebody and you get some cash, and there you're sitting in a pile of cash that you gained by being a little, salesy, pushy, dishonest, or outright fraud. I don't know. It cankers your soul, it ruins who you're being, and it wrecks your energy. It's not worth it. It is not how to live. My opinion, offering it as a suggestion to you, if you're really trying to create a life that you just love every day, and you never have to be worried about being found out, you don't care what anybody knows, because there's nothing to hide. Nothing. Imagine being that. All right, so I use this funny background because it's a bookshelf. It's a bit out of focus if you're not watching the video, and the out of focus bookshelf looks like it has a bunch of either law books or those beautifully bound books that contain, classics or something. They're thick volumes. They look leather bound. There's all kinds of different colors and stuff. So I put that background on purpose because I'm thinking about truth and the record of the past or people's thinking. And I'm not saying everything in an old looking binding is truth. I'm just saying that was what that was to represent. And then there's this dude. Scholarly looking dude, very well trimmed goatee, round glasses, looks like a scholar or professor or something. Not that I think anything that professors say is true because, again, 80-20 rule applies. At least in the United States, the academic institutions have become wildly perverted. They are not institutions of learning, they are institutions of indoctrination. And so the professor or group of professors have a certain viewpoint like we all do, but instead of presenting it as a viewpoint, it's presented as truth and indoctrinated and pounded into students so that they come away feeling like if they think anything different than whatever it is, there's something wrong with them. That's a dangerous place to live. And it doesn't matter which side. Like right now in the U.S., the left of center, left-wing sort of folks have pretty much taken over most or all, nearly all of the universities and have that heavily indoctrination process. But there are examples in history where other kinds of things, those in charge in Nazi Germany is an example used often, were on the other end of the spectrum and they engaged heavily in indoctrination, that certain groups of people, the Jews and certain literature and everything was evil and wrong. So you know what I'm talking about, and you can understand and already know the need for discerning truth. But I'm asking you, do you use it? Do you intentionally develop your ability to discern real truth? If you don't, it's dangerous. How you develop that is a good meditation and spiritual practice. What you need to trust is your own inner guidance. Now, there's laws and rules in society. I know that. I'm not suggesting anything wrong with any of that or anything. But what I'm saying is you are a divine being. You have the connection, the right, the obligation to connect with your own inner guidance and know what is true and right and follow that. No matter what anyone else says or what any other group pushes on you, whatever side of anything you're on, follow your internal true compass. That is the best guide. So let's talk about some characteristics of truth. One immediate meter of truth that lets you know is how authentic it feels. If things are confusing, I listened to a speech, and there's lots of those, the United States right now. As you know, I live in Canada, but I'm also a U.S. citizen, so we're watching that from north, their political process. And I heard one of many speeches in the last few days, but I heard one yesterday that was so slimy, I wanted to go take a bath. It was so inauthentic. It was posturing. It was masqueraded with smiles and noise and clapping and all that stuff. But my internal guidance, I just felt like I got to go take a bath here. There is perhaps truth in there, but there's much camouflage and much sort of pressure. This is the way it is kind of feeling. That is a hallmark that you can use and will protect you. Listen to those feelings. Listen. I'm not talking about style points. I'm not talking about enjoying someone's delivery or presentation. You know, political candidates on all sides are made fun of for how they talk or, how they phrase things or if they repeat themselves or whatever. That isn't what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about the kernel. You have a fire within and it connects to truth. So authenticity is one thing, and I know that's a buzzword and used all the time, but if something feels right. Now, let's turn it around to you in your communication. This is something I ask. Kellan asks himself literally maybe 10 or 15 times a day. Is what I am saying and who I am being as I say it, my energy, my intention, my thought, my inner congruity, is it authentic? Is it real? Do I truly trust and believe what I'm saying or experiencing or participating in? And especially in my role as a coach and advisor, have I listened enough so that what I share, I believe, really will be valuable to whoever I'm speaking with? Especially for like an audience. And I speak a lot on other podcaster shows, on other television shows, and talks. I have several talks, that I do a year, sometimes 2 or 3 a month. So maybe 25 or 30 in a year where I'm in front of an audience of 20 to thousands. And I listen. And one of the things I do is I always talk to the event organizer or the podcast host ahead of time. And I say, tell me about your audience and what are they really looking for? What is it that they're seeking so I can be the most valuable? And then in the context of that guidance, I'm able to be very authentic with what I know, what I've experienced, and what I see. Now that does several things. Number one, it creates a lot of power in what I say. I'm told repeatedly that when I speak, my voice carries great power. It's not a mystery, and it's not because I have a magic voice. I know it's deep and the radio kind of stuff. That's not what I mean. I don't guard my words. I guard my intent. Am I speaking with truth, with no deception or desire to hide? So that authenticity goes both ways, stuff coming in and stuff coming out. The second thing I want to talk about is simplicity. Simplicity. Truth isn't complicated. All truth is connected. All truth is connected into one great whole, one great thing. In physics, Einstein and his, compatriots working at the same time, they were looking for something called the Grand Unified Theory, GUT, or GUT. I don't know how they pronounced it. But what it is was a theory, a set of equations that tied together all of the known forces: force of gravity, force of electromagnetism, which creates light and everything else, and Bluetooth and cell phones and all that. So electromagnetism, and then two others that are tiny forces inside an atom called the strong force and the weak force. I know, weird names. Defining what they are right now is not important. There are four forces. There is some progress been made combining electromagnetism and the weak force. So they sometimes call that the electroweak force. But anyway, still, whether you think of three or four fundamental forces, they feel different, especially gravity. It feels like it's this thing out here. And so they're looking for this grand unified theory. Why? Because the fundamental nature of all creation is truly marvelous and simple. I think Michelangelo says, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Someone else said everything should be made as simple as possible and no simpler. And I forgot who's credited with that, but that's another saying that is powerful and true. So is the message you're receiving, is it simple to understand? Is it clear? Because if it's simple and not complicated, when someone launches into a convoluted explanation, immediately your antenna go up, your BS meter goes up. Think about the last time somebody was busy talking and it got more and more complicated and it's hard to follow and everything. You knew it's not true. Something is being obfuscated. Ooh, there's a fat word for us. Something is being hidden. Something is not there. They don't want you to see, hear, know, understand something. So there's all this, baffle them with bullshit. That kind of phrase. Okay? So truth is simple. And when in going out, so you and I, we're communicating with someone, simplicity is key. That's one of the things I work on all the time. People ask me what I do. And you've heard me say it a million times. My commitment is to help 250 million people do something, or hear something, or feel something, or be something, to connect with, to get in front of 250 million people. That's not hard to understand. Okay, to do what? To talk about shoes? No. To help you, each one of you in the 250 million, understand and fully integrate the fact that you're a divine being. You're created on purpose. You're not an accident. And because you're a divine being, you have infinite possibility. That's it. You're a divine being and you have infinite possibility. That's the message. Now, the outcome of that, if a person really knows to the core they're a divine being and I have infinite possibility, then how I approach every day is way different. I look for possibilities. I know I can create anything. There's a lot of outcome. But I want you to think about right this minute. If you sat down and you knew bulletproof, like you knew that the sun's in the sky, that you are created by a loving God, and call it whatever you want, a loving divine being, and you have infinite possibility because that's where you come from. If you knew that, I promise you, everything you do is different. It changed for me when I actually internalized that. Everything I looked at, I can do that. I can learn that. I can create that. I don't care what the obstacles are. There's a way. There's got to be a way. There's got to be a way. And so I approached everything with that thought. There's got to be a way. We're doing this. So if you know you're a divine being with infinite possibility, then the idea of creating your ultimate life, purpose, prosperity, and joy, that's just project. I got to do certain things in order to be that. And I show up in truth and love and kindness and compassion and creativity every day, all day long, in every conversation. Why? Because I'm a divine being with infinite capability, infinite possibility, and so are you. So that's my simple message. 250 million people, You're a divine being. You have infinite possibility. My work is to help you understand that, believe it, and then do something with it. Create the life you want. Add good to the world. Make a difference. Get wealthy. Use the wealth for good. Get big cash so that you can make a huge difference you yearn to make in the world. So that's what I mean by simplicity. And that applies to stuff coming in and stuff going out. The third thing is transparency. And that's related to simplicity. But when you talk to some people, it's not only complicated, but you just can't see the connections. It feels obfuscatory. Ooh, there's another fun word. Maybe I used that one already. I don't know. But anyway, to obfuscate means to cloud or to hide or to confuse or to prevent someone from understanding all the way through. Well, no matter which side of the political spectrum you're on, I'm recording this during the election season of the United States in 2024. I saw the conversation that outgoing president of the U.S., Joe Biden, gave yesterday about why he dropped out of the race. He didn't answer that question at all. And so that felt completely, he talked about all the good things he'd done, and there's no doubt, been a whole pile of good things he's done in his 50 years. But, the rumors are he was forced out, threatened, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if that's true, but it's certainly nothing was answered in that thing. So that was not transparent. That transaction, monumental, some big dude dropping out of a race where he was the elected front runner in that particular party, dropped out suddenly one day to the next, boom, I'm in, I'm out. So something went on behind the scenes, but it's not transparent in any way, shape, or form. Now, when you hear something, or you read something, or you see a commercial advertising a product, or you see something online, or you talk to someone who's trying to sell you something, or get you to believe something, or you hear one of a million political things that are being pushed out by all sides right now, is it transparent? Can you see through to the full intent? Is the intent as clear as the language? They're trying to get you to vote this way or vote that way. That is the full intent. Each party is accused the other of trying to cling to power or reclaim power, whatever. What's the truth? Is it transparent? And if it's not, then there's ulterior motives, and you have to not disregard everything, but take it all with 57 grains of salt and trust your intuition. The fourth piece, right? So we did authenticity, simplicity, transparency, and integrity. Integrity is the state of something being consistent with itself. So I have had radical change in my life. 20 years ago, I had a very high-ranking position. I made a lot of money. I was also a drug addict, and I had failed at 3 marriages, and I was a disaster. So my outward appearance and my inward appearance, there was no integrity. There was no consistency. Today, my life is an open book. Anything that I have, I'm hiding nothing from my past, mistakes I made. I'm not bragging about them. There's lots of work that I've had to do. There's still some ongoing consequences. I've got some of my children whom I love with all my heart, and I bleed and die for them, who won't talk to me still. And that doesn't hurt me anymore. It used to, but I've done what I can. My point about that is to say there's still stuff that has to be cleaned up, an opportunity. But today, everything I do is in complete integrity. Everything is consistent. This day to, all day, this week, last month, last year. So when I say consistent, that doesn't mean people can't change. Thank goodness, because I have changed wildly over these 20 years. The growth process to create your ultimate life is about change and growth. That's what it's about. Otherwise, what's the point? If you put a seed in the ground and it's always just going to stay a seed, so what? It's the idea that it can grow and blossom and produce fruit. That's true for you and me. So as you measure truth that you speak, are you in integrity? Do you do what you say? Are you what you seem? For me, when I wrote my statements of truth, I said, I am my word. I speak only truth. I do what I say. I am who I seem. For me, that was really important because there was so much camouflage previously in those 20 years ago that I talked about. So much camouflage. And so now I make sure everything, I am who I seem. So that if someone sees me at some other time during the day or in my life, there's not, oh no. Okay, so that is a measure of our truthfulness. And I give that to you, those 4 thoughts. Measuring truth, your own truth. It is authenticity, simplicity, transparency, and integrity. And here's what I can promise you about that. This isn't just a philosophical discussion. I promise that if you live your life, and you can start today, I don't care if you're as messed up today as I was 20 years ago. That's okay. Start where you are. Start where you are, because you can't start anywhere else. And measure your behavior, measure your language, measure your beliefs against that standard of truth. And when you and I behave in authenticity, simplicity, transparency, integrity, number one, all the weight that we carry, not good enough, I'm not okay, what are people thinking of me, what if I fail, what if I suck, what if I die under a bridge, all that evaporates. Those fears disappear, I promise. I know because I've walked that road and I've helped so many of my clients come to grips with and walk that road. My final invitation is this. If you want help with any of that, I've walked that road. Creating purpose for your life is not hard. It takes some work, but you can do it. Creating prosperity, which means cash, wealth, big wealth, is not difficult. The world in general, people all over the place are craving truth and value. And many are looking for it in cheap fakes. Not deep fakes, cheap fakes. Right? And what I mean by that is pretending that more stuff equals happiness. More makeup, more cash, more jewelry, more, I'm the best looking person, more sex, more whatever, right? That's not happiness. Happiness is measured in truth, authenticity, simplicity, transparency, integrity. Those are the hallmarks. My mission is to help you understand your divinity and then access and use your infinite possibility to change the world, to create happiness, to create wealth. All the tools in marketing, advertising, Facebook ads, products that you create, seminars you might teach, speaking careers, all those are available to you. But they are only powerful when founded on truth. That's the key. Truth. With that, you can't be stopped. Without it, you won't make it to creating what you want. With it, you're on your way to creating your ultimate life. Open your heart and this time around,
Thank you for listening to today's episode. We hope that you take it deeply into your heart and decide for yourself how you can create anything you desire. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to this podcast and share it with your friends. As always, we'd love to hear your feedback and topic suggestions. Until tomorrow, this is Your Ultimate Life with host Kellan Fluckiger.
Stand with your heart in the sky and your feet